Hello, all, and welcome to episode 5 of the Mission Life Lifestyle for Environment series. I hope you're liking the episodes, and in this episode, I'll be talking of things by which we can reduce the waste which we are producing in our houses or in our establishment. So let's start. The first point mentioned in the scheme document is that contribute cattle waste, food waste and agriculture waste to biogas plant. Now, wherever this is possible, I mean, if you have a rural setup, if you have a farmhouse, if you are in an area where you have enough space to install a biogas plant, or there is a biogas plant nearby, so this things can be done. You can contribute all these waste and this can go to the biogas plant, basically recycling it. So it's a very good point. In some places may not be possible, but wherever there is a possibility, kindly explore this. The next point mentioned is that practice segregation of dry and wet waste at home. Now, this point I've already talked about in detail in the previous episodes, but just a reminder that when we don't do it, on our dry waste and wet waste get mixed, and then for those people from municipality who are collecting it, it becomes nearly impossible to do that, and simply everything goes to the dumping site. On the other hand, if you have a simple home composting method where you separate your wet waste, that wet waste will go to any hole, basically the food waste which is coming from your kitchen, that will go to that hole, and on the other part, the dry waste will go basically to the recyclers who can sell it or recycle it or reuse it in many ways. So we must practice this segregation. Every household, if it does that, it will be wonderful. And on top of that, basically even bigger installments. So offices also produce a lot of waste. So with simple effort, we can do this even in our offices. So this is what we must understand. And going on to the next point, use agriculture residue, animal waste for composting, manuring and mulching. Now, if you have a big farm or if you have a cattle stock, so all this waste and residue can be used basically. So when you are farming, there is a lot of agriculture residue is there. I mean, you harvest the crop, and then there's a lot of, for example, straws, paddy straws are there. Then there are many ways which we can use the paddy straws. One very interesting thing which I have seen is that paddy straw is very much required for the spawn when we cultivate or harvest mushrooms at home. So the spawns which are made basically of paddy straws, it's a wonderful use of paddy straws. Otherwise, we are just not using it. So this is what we have to understand. So whatever you are growing, there will be a byproduct, and the residue can be used in multiple ways. So that depends on what you are growing and where you are growing, but kindly explore how you can use that agricultural residue so that the waste can be reduced. Now, the next point mentioned in the document is that we recycle and reuse old newspapers and magazines. So this goes with all stationery. In fact, there are a lot of startups and companies which are recycling paper, which are making notebooks out of recycled paper. So that is another point. But wherever you have, for example, if you are taking newspapers or magazine, just store it and sell it to a scrap dealer. These scrap dealers are connected to these kind of companies, and eventually the paper will go there and it will be recycled. If you just mix it with your wet waste and other waste, it will not go to the right recyclers. So it's important that all the stationery which is there is kept separate. Like in my house also, we are keeping everything separate. We are doing basic house level segregation, stationery and paper waste like in one place. Then we have glass and other recyclable items at one place, and the whole wet waste from the kitchen is going to that hole where we are doing home composting. So this is something which we can do. Next point mentioned is that feed unused and uncooked vegetables left over to cattle. Now, this is very important that we don't have leftovers. So it's just me and my mother here. So we ensure that whatever we cook, we don't cook on a higher side. So at the end of the day, before we go to sleep, there is no waste. So that is one thing, if we can ensure that. But I'm sure in larger families this might be an issue. So we have to find a way how we use the leftovers. It can be shared with the animals around you. It can be used in some other ways. So basically the point here is find out a way that you minimize or totally eliminate the food waste which is going on. I still remember the LBS days during the IS training, and in the mess they did this thing that every day how much food was being wasted, and that was like a large number of kilos of waste. They wrote it on the notice board. So it reminded everyone who's coming to eat that, oh my god, this huge amount of food is being wasted every day in this mess. I mean, this is crazy. On one hand, we have people dying of hunger and so many issues with hunger in different parts of the continent and the country. And on one side, we are wasting so much food. So this food wastage, we must reduce to the minimum. So great point. Now, next point of reducing waste is that set printer default to double side printing. So I have made entirely dedicated video of basically how we can save paper in offices. I will leave the link in the description. But just a reminder that just by doing this simple thing, and I have worked in various offices, and what I've seen is that we are always printing on the one side of the page. So just by using double-sided printer, now the challenges can be that the offices are having basically old printers which are not duplex printers. So basically you can use the odd even method, and if we print on both sides, we reduce the consumption of paper by half, by 50%. So that's a big number. And there are many other things which I have talked about in that video, how to save paper, not just in offices, but it can be in your home too. So please go and watch that video. I'll leave the link in the description. Next point is that repair, reuse and recycle old furniture. Now in this age where things are available at a click of a button, and you can just order new things, and it's so fast and convenient, we end up ordering a lot of new things. But there is always a scenario where the old things can be reused, recycled, renovated and decorated and repainted and stuff like that. So I think before discarding anything in the house, we should give it a thought, that is there a way by which we can basically reuse it, and you should not compromise on the aesthetics. So you can beautify it, you can paint it, modify it, etc., but reuse it, try to reuse it, try to recycle it. So that way we'll reduce our spending also, and we'll reduce the wastage also. So it's a very good point. So next point mentioned is that buy paper products made from recycled paper. Earlier I had mentioned that there are various companies, again you can find this online as well, that various notebooks and books made of recycled paper, they are available, and if it's locally available it's wonderful, otherwise you can get it online. So this is also another good practice which will, if you do this, will support the organizations which are recycling paper, and new trees will not be cut. So this is a wonderful thing. Next point is that donate old clothes and books. So yeah, I mean it can be anything, donating other things as well, not just clothes and books. There are certain clothes, we run out of size, or we're not fitting us anymore and stuff like that, and books, once we read, there's no use, they're just lying around in our house. So rather than just throwing it away, there are people, in fact there are organizations which collect these used clothes and books, and then they donate it to the deserving people. So you can directly do it through the people who are around you, that will be the best, or you can get in touch with these organizations, and some of these organizations also offer the pickup services from your home. So whatever it is, not just books and clothes, but whatever you're not using, kindly donate it to the people who need it. So that will reduce the requirement of arranging new things for them. So this is also a very wonderful thing. Next point is that do not discard waste in water bodies and in public spaces. Now This leads to a lot of mixing up again of the waste, and segregation is not possible afterwards. Recycling is not possible afterwards. That is why a proper waste collection mechanism has to happen. And of course, that starts at home. At home itself, you can segregate things and try to throw minimum things in the bin, which is basically the waste from which the municipal collects the waste. So if you segregate properly, and then when you have enough, you can call those scrap dealers. In fact, in cities and all, you'll be seeing that these scrap dealers are like, they are like hawkers. They keep on moving from one place to another. So you will hear those voices, and then you can sell it, basically your waste. And only wet waste is there. Wet waste you can compost at home, and whatever you cannot sell it or compost it, you then discard it to the municipal waste collection mechanism. So basically, let's not discard the waste especially in water bodies, because that is the lifeline for us, and in public spaces, because it just promotes littering further. So proper segregation is important, and the focus on not littering around. Last point is that do not let your pets defecate in the public spaces. Now, of course, in many countries, you have seen this, that when you take your pets out and then you have to collect their, when they defecate, you have to collect their excreta. That's another level. Of course, in India, it's not happening. But of course, we can avoid public spaces. If you have a good space in your home itself, a big garden, then I think it makes more sense to have a pet. Anyway, this is something which will take time to evolve, but the other points are quite doable, and if we do it properly, I think we can reduce lot of waste. On this note, I want to talk about the concept of minimalism. Of course, if you Google it, or if you see on YouTube, there are a lot of videos. In fact, Netflix, there is a documentary on minimalism by the founders of the Minimalist, and it's a really wonderful and eye-opening thing. It's shocking when you think about it, that how many of your possessions you actually use. They are utility. So when you do that, it'll come to 10-15% of the stuff which you have. So other than that, stuff which you have acquired over time, it's just lying around there. So I have started this habit of minimalism, and I have discarded or given away, basically I've donated most of the things I don't need. And if you look into my room, it's just very clean, and it's all the things which I literally use every day. And this habit of minimalism results in a lot of less expenditure as well. You're never spending, because mostly we already have what we want. So whenever you get time, please read about or watch documentaries about minimalism. I'm sure it will change your lifestyle, and definitely it is going to reduce the waste that you produce. So for this particular episode, minimalism concept or lifestyle is very important. So hope you have liked this video on waste reduction, and there are 2 more videos left in this series, and hopefully you will enjoy them too. Thank you for watching.